Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Kingdom Connections. I am your host, Apostle Michael Fram with Prophetic Destiny Ministries International in Sayreville, New Jersey, coming to you live tonight. It is live. It is not Memorex. We are live tonight. We come every single Thursday night at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific, right here on the Kingdom First TV network. Of course, Kingdom First is an extension of and is sponsored by the Love and Unity movement. For more information on Love and Unity, we do invite you to check out our website, which is love-unity.org, love-unity.org. And I have a pretty young lady that's sitting with me here on the screen virtually tonight. She's really not a stranger to most of my audience, but I don't think she's been on yet since I've moved this Thursday night broadcast over to the Kingdom First TV platform. So for those of you that maybe do not know this pretty young lady, this is my first spiritual child. She was the one that we practiced being father and daughter on each other, because I don't think either one of us knew what we were doing. But this is Prophet Lisa Perna, and we just celebrated 9 years of relationship just here, like within, hello, Linda, right within like this last week or so. It's been 9 years since we kind of came into each other's lives. And I remember the first time I went to the house back doing the Touch by Prayer internet radio show way back in the day, sitting at the dining room table with Rob being the sound engineer. And boy, that's a few days ago. And a lot has transpired since that first day 9 years ago. Thank you, Kim. It is. It's a happy 9 years. And I wouldn't trade it for all the tea in China, to be honest with you. It's been a lot of fun. It's been challenging, but it's really been rewarding to just have this relationship and watch it grow. Well, I guess it's kind of glowed too. But we're going to do something a little bit different tonight on this broadcast. Lisa has a book out that she put out several months ago. We did a program on it previously called Touching the Father's Heart Through Prayer. And we did a promo on it, but it was before we had moved this program over to Kingdom First. And so if you are interested in getting the book, scan the QR code that's on the screen. We'll probably put it up a time or two more during the broadcast, and you can get it from Amazon. But we thought what we would do is allow Lisa to share some of the testimonies and the feedback on this book, maybe to whet your appetite. And so we're gonna do that tonight. But before we jump into the conversation, Lisa has a short commercial that we're going to show. And after the commercial, I'm going to turn the reins of the program over to her. She can introduce herself, and then she can kind of go where she wants to go on my show. It'll be all right. So go ahead, Joe Henry. Go ahead and pop the commercial up.
Since the moment you were formed in your mother's womb, you were always connected to your Heavenly Father. You were created to be in constant communications with the Creator of the universe. And that communication comes through prayer. So many times, we believe that our prayers are being ignored. When you tap into the frequency of the Father's love, you will see your prayers have always been heard. Touching the Father's heart through prayer is not just a book. It will become a lifestyle. Order your copy today and watch how your prayer life changes.
Wow, that's pretty much what's been happening, is people's prayer lives have been changing since I wrote my book. That's pretty much what's been happening. And it's extremely humbling. It really is very, very humbling to get. I've gotten texts and I've gotten emails and people who have truly, truly enjoyed my book, but I will say that it was because of you that I was able to go to some of the places saying, "Is this okay? Like, is
Yeah.
this does that sound okay? Like, is that scriptural? Like, is that does that make sense?" Like everything that I did in touching the Father's heart through prayer, I was always looking for my spiritual mother and my spiritual father to go and to help me to make sure that it was okay. Because there's something you don't want to do, and that's you don't want to mislead somebody. And so, for those of you who know me, my name is Lisa Perna, and I have a broadcast called Touch by Prayer. I also do a morning broadcast called Crown Chats, where the framination came from. You've been framinated? Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
One of Lisa's groupies, no, one of Lisa's really good friends.
Yeah, Tracy.
Actually, Tracy Mahalik was the one that came up with that
With
handle
the
of
framinator. With
the
the framinator.
Framinator,
Yes.
and it kind of stuck.
Yeah. Well, we took her framinator. We made it into you've been framinated because because there's always those mic drops, and I think, oh, that's so funny. A mic drop.
Hey Joe, do you have the T-shirt, Joe?
That's funny. There you go. I've been framinated. Okay. So that's one of the things that I really believe that what God has placed inside me is he's given me a platform to bring other people to connect other people. That's pretty much what I do.
It is what you do.
Yeah, and I also do I do a conference. It's not even a women's conference anymore, called Daddy's Girl. But what's so crazy is that you prophesied that men were going to come, and I'm like, I don't know about that, but yeah, yep, they are coming. They are coming. So so that's just a little bit about me.
All right. So, besides the fact that we've known each other forever,
Yes.
Let's get into some of these testimonies and some of how the book, Touching the Father's Heart Through Prayer, how it's changing people's lives from the feedback that you've received.
Well, okay, so the first thing is people while they're reading it, they're texting me. I just read this chat and they're all crying. They always text me after they cry, which was really interesting because when I was writing the book, I cried. And I was like, well, if I'm crying, then maybe that's a good thing because how do I put this? There's teaching because there's teaching and then there's testimonies. And I think that's some of the things that people really have enjoyed because it's not just teaching; it's teaching with the testimonies, and it's kind of how Papa has navigated me to pray for people because I love to pray for people, and you can ask Papa Mike that. Like, I love to pray for people. That's my heart. That's really my heart. And so, touching the Father's heart through prayer. This was not a book that I was supposed. Well, no. This is a book I was supposed to write, but this was a book I didn't even know I was supposed to write. And when the Lord told me, He gave me the title, He gave me the chapters, because I was writing a different book. And He said, "Stop writing that book. I want you to write this book." But the cool thing about this is He said to me, He said, "Lisa, I really had you write this book first because it's going to show your depth." Like, depth? What kind of, like, seriously, like, you know me. Like, that was a very bizarre thing, but that's been a constant key through all the testimonies is that it goes super, super deep.
Yeah. Well, I think because I've been reading it through the process of you writing it, because you would send me sections and,
Right.
Check this out, or you would call me and say, can I say this? But the thing that impressed me so much about the way you wrote the book was that you weaved in real life stories that people could actually see themselves in the story and identify.
Yeah.
And I may have told you this while you were writing it. I don't remember. But one of the things that made people like Kenneth Hagin and Lester Sumrall so effective as teachers was that they used real life illustrations in their teaching. And in the story came the application of the truth that they were teaching, and people could relate to it. And so you did exactly what they did in their teaching. You were weaving a tapestry of real life story along with biblical principle and precedent. And it really comes alive in a way to the reader that I can see myself in this. Not only can I see myself in it, but I can see myself do it.
Well, and that's the whole purpose of it, because we're supposed to not just be listeners, we're supposed to be doers. That's what we're supposed to. We're supposed to do the things that Jesus told us to do. In fact, we're supposed to do better. We're supposed to do more. So this book is like, you have no excuse. Because if God can use me, hello, if he can use me, he can use anybody. And that's the key, because we disqualify ourselves so many times. And I think through this book, it just shows, even when I made mistakes, even when I didn't think I had it, even when I was like questioning, like, who is Deborah? Like, I didn't know anything. Oh yeah, because, and the thing is, I didn't even put in all the stories. I'm writing a second book, okay, with which is going to have all the stories, because I worked at a cosmetic counter, and so I have tons of stories from there. Because I would call up Papa Mike and be like, "Hey, I got to tell you about this thing that just happened. Does this sound like God?" You know, it was always like, "Does this sound like God?" You know. And so through this book, it was like the Father, he sat down with me and he said, "I'm going to help you write this." So what he did is he gave me each of the topics, and he showed me different things through it. And that was I think that was a really cool part about it, because I really kind of got to see some stuff in the Bible that I never saw before. That's what happens when you start to deep dive with the Father. He starts to show you. And the thing that I saw that was constant is he never let me down. That's the thing that people are getting. Like, okay, I'm just gonna read like one. Maybe I'll read two, but this is something that someone wrote. They said, touching the Father's heart through prayer has encouraged me to seek our Father on a more personal level. And that's my heart. That's really been my heart, that people can say, wait a second, he's not like Zeus, who sits there and says, oh, this person is going to live and this person is going to die and this person's going to get blessed and this person's going to get cursed. Because I take them even through the process of me discovering, going just from our Father to my Papa. So yeah. I walk people through that process, because I think when you go from our Father to my Papa, there's a huge change. There's a huge change in your prayer life.
All right. Since you just let that cat out of the bag, elaborate, please. What meanest thou when you say going from our Father to my Papa?
Well, because our Father is something that Jesus told the disciples to pray. He said, when you pray, pray like this. He says to pray, our Father who art in heaven. Okay, that's fantastic. But there still has to be a personalization. Like, we can call him our Father who art in heaven, but still not see him as our Father. And so he took me through a process of calling him like God, the Father, to Daddy. Hence, that's where Daddy's Girl came from. To now I call him Papa, which is something I swore I would never do. I was never, ever going to call him Papa. I said, I'm not going to call. It's weird. I'm not doing it. And now I'm like, I'm so sorry, Papa, because he takes you.
Yeah, I remember you weren't going to call me Papa either.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because there has to be a couple of things that get established. Okay. like to even call like somebody daddy. I don't call anybody daddy except for my earthly father who's now with the Lord.
Right.
Okay. And Papa. That's it. And there are times I call him Papa or I call him Daddy. But there you will never hear me call anybody else here on earth Daddy. Not gonna happen. That's a very, very special name. And so to take me from Daddy to Papa, which was something I said, you know, I'm telling you, we all have the Jonah moments where I'm like, I don't want to go to Nineveh, but we do. We get there and we are like, it feels right. It just felt right, and there was an intimacy in that. But you still, this is the thing that God really kind of showed me. He said that when if we have a father who's a judge, okay, he's a judge in a courtroom. Okay, if I go in to the courtroom while he is behind that bench, okay, I still have to address him as your honor. I have to. I
Right.
cannot call him dad. I cannot call him daddy. I can't call him papa. I got to talk to him as your honor. Okay. When my dad, who's a judge, is also my coach on a baseball field, okay? And I'm with him and he is now coach. I have to call him coach. Okay? When we're at home, I can call him dad. Okay, well, dad, I'm calling you dad. It's not, but if I need something, especially if I'm his daughter, I'm going to go curl up, sit next to him with my eyes and balance and go, Daddy. That's how I'm going to get his attention. That's how I'm going to get my father to get to my need, just like you do. That's why there's that saying, "Daddy's girl," because they know how to talk to their father in order to get what they want. Now, it's not manipulation because you can't manipulate God, but there is a tenderness. There is something like my daughter can go to my husband and she can ask for things that my son is not able to get. You know what I mean? Because she knows there is something that happens sometimes with that level of intimacy that you just, it's like, hold on a second. It's like when I call to the Lord and I say, Papa, it's like everything stops in heaven for that 1 second. It's like, wait 1 second. Wait, Lisa needs something. Hold on. Just give me a second. That's what I see. Do you know what I mean? And it says in the scriptures, it says that we call to him and he listens. It says that he hearkens. So it's like, as soon as we call out to the Lord, it's like, hold on a second. Like, that's the way we have to really believe, because what did Jesus say? Jesus said to God, he says, Father, he says, I am thankful that you hear me. I am thankful that you hear me. When he was going to what? To raise Lazarus from the dead. But why did he do that? He knew that God heard him, but he did it so that the Pharisees would hear that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, well, that's what I was looking for. I was looking for the intimacy
Absolutely.
of the terminology.
Yes.
And the closer you got to the heart of the Father is how your vocabulary changed.
Yes.
And the vocabulary changed in accordance with the intimacy that you were coming into with Papa or Father or Daddy or Abba, because that's what it is. And that's what I was looking for you to say. I was looking for you to get to that, because, some people that don't have that level of intimacy with God, they still view him as the mighty God on the throne with the billy club waiting for you to step across the line.
Right.
As opposed to the little girl that can get up and climb in daddy's lap.
Yep.
And you found the place where the little girl can climb up in daddy's lap
and feel
sit
safe
and talk to him
and feel safe.
Yeah.
That's where that scripture, it says that we are supposed to enter the throne room boldly. Well, why? Okay, we're who we are. Okay, so how do we enter? We enter the throne room when we enter into prayer. when we have our prayers, we can sit there and we can pray and we can just pray. But if you really believe that your prayers are being taken to the throne room, that's a game changer.
Yeah.
That's when things start to shift. And that's what this book has taught people. That because when I pray, and it has absolutely nothing to do that with my anointing, it has nothing to do with that, but I have tapped into the secret place where I can commune with my Father, that I know He hears me.
That's so good. That's so good. So you started giving a testimony,
Uh-huh.
and then you kind of got diverted.
I did, because I squirrel, but that's okay. You love me anyway. Okay, so this is
You're right. You're right.
I'm just being honest. I know. See, you have to know your tribe. You have to know the people. You go where you are celebrated, not tolerated. Just saying. Okay, so this is what she said is this book is not only changing my prayer life, but it also is changing my family's life. Now, that is also something that has happened to many, many people. It has changed not just their life, it's changed their family's life. I know of this one woman who was reading the book and started to read the book with her husband. And the husband's like, well, that's I like that. Okay. All right. And so they're reading my book together. People have taken my book and they did a Bible study with my book. What? People are doing a Bible study with my book? Really? What? I mean, we don't know, but we knew. But I knew that Papa said he wanted me to write it, so I was just obedient to get it done. But in the same process, I was trying to rush the process, and God's like, no, the timing is mine. That's the big thing. And so there was something that happened in my book that couldn't have been written before because it needed to be included. There was an event that happened that I should have had my book done. I was so mad. I'm like, my book should be done. It should be done. But there was an event that happened when I was praying with Anthony Turner. That was such a pivotal point, like in my life, in my prayer life, because it was every single way I could pray. I mean, aside from tap dancing. I mean, seriously, I quoted scriptures. I reminded God of His promises. I decreed, I declared. We repented, we rejoiced. We celebrated, we walked, we stood in faith. We did everything that we could do aside from tap dancing, which I would have done. To get the result that we needed to get. And it wasn't because I was trying to prove something, but because my heart was breaking for someone who was there to do something that they couldn't do. And my heart became so filled with love that I felt at that moment, it was such a supernatural thing, but I felt at that moment that there was no way that I was leaving until I got the result. I just wasn't.
Are you talking about the event at Keswick last year?
Yeah.
I know because I know.
Yeah.
But I know what caused that breakthrough.
Mm-hmm.
And when you laid across Anthony's feet and began to weep, that's when it broke.
Yeah.
That was like the straw that broke the camel's back. It was all over. It was all over.
I didn't even know him.
But that was the moment that got him the breakthrough that he needed. And that I'll be honest, I've been doing this a long time. I'm in my 44th year of ministry. And that moment moved me more than a lot of other moments that I've experienced and seen. And I've experienced and seen a lot. But if it moved me that much, I know it moved the heart of God. And that was the moment. And folks, I can't explain to you all what happened in that moment. I don't think either one of us could. I don't think anybody that was in the service could. But there was something in a moment where Lisa really just prostrated herself, laid herself across Apostle Anthony Turner's feet and wept and cried over his feet. And God responded to that. And a man who wasn't able to walk all of a sudden could not just walk, but teach, preach, stand, play, sing, worship, where he was very, very hampered and wasn't able to because his body was under attack. That broke it. And there's something about that kind of intimacy and that kind of realness with God that moves God.
Yeah. And that's the thing. There have been lots of times that he's told me to do things that I didn't understand. I talked about this in my book. I talked about how I prayed for this one girl who was involved in witchcraft, and God healed her, but changed her. She physically changed in her face. She changed. And so there are people who they hear some of these things and they weep because they realize that, wait a second, if God could change her, he could change me. And it's become the thing about touching the Father's heart through prayer has become this. It's become extremely personal. This is not a how-to. This is not a how to do it. This is a why we do it. There's a difference. Because everybody, do you know how many books there are about how to pray written by incredible people? Incredible people. And who
Absolutely.
am I? Who am I? Like, I tell the stories, I laugh, I kick cows. Like, that's what I do. I mean, like you said, I'm extremely unassuming. But the difference with some of the things that I do is that I know that God is good. And I will stand by that. Regardless of what happens, I will stand on that. And so that's basically what people are seeing. They're like, so if I stand, and there have been people who, there is somebody who actually wants to take the book and they're translating it into Spanish just so that her mother could read it.
Wow.
Now that's a test. I was like, wait, what? Yeah, she said that she said, Lisa, she said, the thing that I love about your book is like, you're just like me. You're not this like big like name that's out there. Like, you're just like me. She said, and this is what we're supposed to do. We're all supposed to do this. And that's, look, when Papa Mike prayed over me this one time in Asbury Park, New Jersey, and he said to me, he said, you are on the fast track. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, you're going to go and people are going to, their heads are going to turn and they're going to be like, how did they get there? And I was like, okay. And when we get that, we think that I'm going to be leaving my job. I'm going to be going and doing all these things. And then all of a sudden it's like, you're still in the same place. You're still doing the same stuff. And there isn't any change because there is a process that you have to go through. And I think that was one of the big things about this book is the process that I had to go through. So the biggest testimony that I have about this book and what this book did is what it did to me. That's the biggest testimony because I could do hard things. I can do things that I thought were impossible. That there is a legacy of the things that I've done. There are people's lives who have been changed because of my obedience. Not because I'm anything special, but just because when God said, would you go? I said, yes.
Yeah. You know, I'm listening to you talk and this thought keeps running through my head.
Uh-oh.
And no, it's a good one. And often we say in ministry that some things are taught.
Yeah.
And some things are caught. I believe what this book allows is for people to catch something.
Yeah.
Yes, there's teaching within the book, There's principle, there's precedent in the book, there's Bible doctrine in the book, but there's a spirit of faith and belief in the book. You can't teach a spirit of faith and belief. You have to catch that.
Yeah.
There's a yes, God can and yes, God will in the book. You can teach it, but it's much better if you catch it and it becomes a part of you. The unassuming way you tell stories of real life can grab people and bring them into the story. They can see themselves in the story. It's like when I read Bible stories, I like to put myself in the story. So there are many times I'll read the book of Acts and I'll put myself in Acts chapter 3 and envision that I'm the lame beggar and I'm begging for alms. And here comes Peter and John, and they say, "Look at us." And so I'm the beggar. I look at them. I look up, and I'm expecting to receive money because I'm begging. And they say, "Silver and gold have I none." And all of a sudden, I go into a 70s sitcom in my head. What you talking about, Willis, you jive turkey? What you telling me look at you for? You ain't got no money. I mean, imagine that that's you. And then they say, "But such as I have, give I." All right, so I'm not getting money, but I'm going to get something. Yeah. Oh, yeah, you going to get something. You just don't know what you're going to get. But when you insert yourself in the story, you begin to see things. And I think that's what this book carries, is that people can see themselves in the story. And where you're saying, I'm doing things that I didn't think I would ever do. Well, isn't that what God said? Nothing shall be impossible to those that believe. With God, all things are possible. And there is that quiet reassurance of what you've walked through that is breathed into every page of the book. And that's the thing that people are catching.
Yeah.
Not so much they're being taught it, but they're taking that quiet confidence. Well, if God can do this for Lisa, he can do this for me.
Absolutely. And I think that it's what's also cool. What's also cool are the people, like some of the people that I've written about in my book who I'm it's so funny how God does things, because I prayed with some other people, and we prayed, and I had an entire encounter in heaven where I saw somebody who was in a coma, and it was like there was this whole thing, and it's a beautiful, beautiful story. But of course, you start to put people in. You have to ask their permission. Can I put your story in? Can I put your story in? And they were like, yes, you can put my story in. Okay. Uh, they circle back into my life. There's this beautiful thing that God is doing. He's see, God doesn't waste anything. He doesn't waste a thing. He everything that he does, he brings back to completion. And because the testimony of what I said, that God said to this person who is in a coma, who is now out of a coma, who is on the road to recovery, anytime she gets doubtful, anytime that she starts to think, oh, maybe I was imagining it, she has a book that she could turn to, that she can open a page and go, wait a second, she was there. She witnessed it. Sometimes we need to have people who witness the things. Some people have to see the miraculous in order for us to remember. We forget. We forget the things that we've gone through. That's one of the things, like this book is a testimony to the goodness of God. This book is a testimony to the faithfulness of God. This is a book it testifies not only of his goodness and his faithfulness, that I can trust him, that he is good. He's good. He's a good papa, that he has a sense of humor. All of these stories. And it just says, wait a second, because when I get doubtful, because I do, everybody does. And the devil says, "Oh, nobody wants to read your book." And God's like, "Really? Okay. Let me could you please send Lisa something?" And I get a text. I get a message. "I love your book. Your book has changed me. Oh my gosh, I'm seeing things. I'm starting to imagine, I've had these encounters. I had an encounter kind of like you had, and I've never seen anybody who had an encounter like that." So it really is, because if we, like you were saying about the Bible, the thing about the Bible is we have an Old Testament and we have a New Testament. The Old Testament is how God did things for people. But the New Testament that we live in is how God does things through people. We are the through people. We are the ones who are supposed to do greater things than even Jesus Christ did. That's what he said to his disciples. He said, "Look, greater things are you going to do. I'm ready for the greater. But if I don't have the faith for just the minimum, how am I going to see the greater?" It's like we have to kind of start to shift our eyes, and we have to start shifting our focus and start to say, "Okay, Papa, if this is what you've called me to do, then let's do it." Because we get an opportunity each and every day to show people who God is through us. That's it. How are you going to show them? Is it going to be through your doubt? Like, there are people who you start talking about, healing. Let me lay hands on you for healing. And the person next to you is like, "Oh, no, I got a real good chiropractor." What? No. It's like, wait a second. Oh, if you can't sleep, here, let me pray for you so you can get some sleep. No, you know what? There are these pills that I have. If you take them, no. We've become so quick to go to what man says as opposed to what God says. And I think that what 2020 has really shown us is that we can only depend on God. We can only depend on God, because he will tell us. He told me before everything got shut down, the day that everything was getting shut down, he told me that day, "Go food shopping." What? Go food shopping. I'm like, "Yeah, but no, go food shopping." But see, if I didn't have all the stories of when he told me to do something, I would have dismissed it. But see, I'm hoping at this book, when they say, "Oh, God does talk. Oh, God did tell her to do that. Oh, yeah, he did tell her." He used to wake me up and say, "Lisa, you forgot to pay a bill today." And I'd be like, "Oh, I can't believe I almost forgot that." Because why? Because he didn't want me to get a charge. He didn't want me to get a late fee. He didn't want me to get bad credit. See, when you have your best friend is God, you can't fail. You can't fail in life, because he will always make sure that you succeed.
That's so good. Tell me another testimony, another story that has come from a reader of the book.
Well, let's see. My gosh, there's so many. Okay, hold on. I'm trying to hold on. Just give me 1 second here. Okay. Let's see. Okay, Lisa, in her book, Touching the Father's Heart Through Prayer, has made a huge difference in the ways, places, and times that I pray. I find myself praying daily, and if not almost hourly, in many different ways. And I believe my Father hears my prayers to him. In fact, I found Lisa's book so helpful in developing my own prayer life. I recently sent a copy to a very dear friend, a powerful sister in faith, who has been very pleased with what she's read so far.
Wow. Change the way I pray, how often I pray, not just daily, but almost hourly.
That's what we're supposed to do.
Well, yeah, but not everybody does.
I know, but like when I worked in the cosmetic counter, I would, like, if I wasn't talking, I was praying. That's just the way it was. And because of that, I saw miracles. I saw things happening did you hear what just happened? And call him like, "You got a couple minutes?" He's like, "Okay, I got to clear 3 hours because it's going to be a 3-hour conversation."
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
not. It's
Lisa,
not 15
Lisa
minutes.
speaks in code. If she says, "Do you have 10 minutes?" That means an hour.
Mm,
And if she says, "Do you have 20 minutes?" That's 2 hours.
right.
And if you have 30 minutes, that's 3 hours.
That's right.
Just just add a zero.
That's it. That's it. Well, because this is the thing. Okay, I truly believe iron sharpens iron. And so if you're going to hang out with people, you want to hang out with people who are sharper than you. That's
Yeah,
really what it comes down to. So what happened is when I got my prayer language, when I started to pray in tongues, I was like, I started having visions. I started to have like I'd see stuff. I went to a church one time and I said to a friend, I go, do demons go to church? And she's like, I don't know. I go, well, there's 3 over there. And so I started to see things. I started to know things. And I didn't even know. I didn't know what a prophet was. I didn't know what a prophet was. Are you kidding me? And when the Lord told me that I've called you to be a prophet, I said, I don't want to be a prophet. And he said, but the prophet is my very best friend. I went, oh, okay, now I have to be a prophet. Great. Now I have to be a prophet. Because I want to be your best friend. I want to be your best friend. And that's the thing. Think about the apostles. Think about the disciples. They wanted to be Jesus's best friend. And because of Holy Spirit, we can feel closer to God than probably anybody else in the Bible, except for maybe Abraham, because Abraham had that beautiful relationship. But think about it. Think about all the people who they didn't have the Holy Spirit inside of them, where we can know, we can feel, we can sense. He can call us. Come and spend some time with me. Okay. Let me tell you about this. Okay. I'm going to talk to you about trees. What? Okay. All right. Talk to me about trees. Like whatever he wants to talk about, I'm very willing to hear. But this is one of the things that I keep saying is like, oh, Lord, like, I don't know. This does, like, even writing this book is like, I don't know. What if people don't like it? He's like, do you think that people aren't going to like it? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I have what it takes. He's like, am I helping you do it? I was like, well, yeah. He's like, then you're going to be okay. Because why? Because God will not be mocked. We have to remember that. Like, we don't look as long as, ooh, okay, I am going to share something about my book. I don't think I've even shared this with you personally. I might have, but I don't know. I was really having a hard time with like when my book first came out, because when you write, it's so different. It's so different when you write as opposed to talk. Because when you talk and you can see people's faces and their expressions, you can kind of explain yourself. But when you're writing a book, you can't really do that. It's like whatever is written is what it's going to be, and people are going to interpret it how they're going to interpret it. You can't backpedal with it. It's like, there it is. And so I was really having a hard time with it. And Jesus, I was at a church and I was worshiping, and I saw Jesus in a vision, and he looked at me and he said, "Look at me, Lisa." And I'm kind of like down, and he goes, "Look at me." And so I looked at him, and with that, I was taken to the throne room, and there was King Jesus, and he was standing before the Father, and I was right there. I was like, okay. And Jesus was not looking at me. He was just looking at the Father. And then suddenly, on the second step, my book appeared. And I was like, ooh, why is my book in heaven? Why is my book in heaven? Why is my book in heaven? And then all of a sudden, the book burst into flames. Poof. And I'm like, and I'm watching Jesus, and Jesus is watching my book. And the Father is watching everybody's watching my book. And I'm looking at my book like, oh no, what did I do? And when it burned, this angel came and it scooped it all up, and I went over and it measured it. And when it measured it, the scale went like that. It dropped, and I was right back into my seat. And I was like, oh no, oh no, oh no, I did something wrong. And I actually had to go through, and I went and I researched and I prayed, and it says that I'm trying to remember the verse, it just escaped me, but it says it's in the New Testament. Hold on. I just went blank, but it says that everything that we do is going to be tried by fire. That everything we do is going to be burned. And if there's nothing left, that's going to be our reward. But even though it burned, there was something left. And so even if it doesn't it doesn't touch people, it touched the Father. Because when it was burned and it was offered, it was still pleasing because there was something left. So my feeling now is like, okay, he's happy. I'm good. So it's like, I'm like, okay, because really, like we can start to build things, and we can start to, thank you, 1 Corinthians 3. Thank you, Dave. Thank you. I just went like, because I wasn't going to talk about it. And then I saw it and I was like, okay, you want me to talk about it? Okay. So, I'm only saying that is because everything that we do, our ministries and our books and our videos and our teachings and everything that we have is going to be tried by fire. Everything. And so as long as there's something left, as long as there is something, then we know it pleases the Lord. And that's why we do what we do. That's why I do what I do. Like that's my thing. As long as Papa's happy, I'm good.
Absolutely. Boy, it's interesting looking at all the comments, and I see all of Lisa's followers, because when I do Lisa's broadcast, I recognize all these faces. I see Steph, and I see Ryan over here, and I saw Linda, and so
Shelly. Shelly's there, Rebecca's there.
I'm seeing all these names that I know. And it's not that I know them because I know them. I know them from doing your broadcasts.
Yep.
From doing both Touched by Prayer and by doing Crown Chats. So it's kind of like I'm watching one. It's like, well, this is one of your programs.
No, but what Papa has given me is he has given me friends who stand with me, who cheer me on, who support me, and who encourage me every day.
Oh, absolutely.
Including you.
Oh, yeah. But that's what fathers do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Give me one more story, one more testimony from the book.
Okay. Okay. Lisa's book has literally thrown open the door to whatever.
Yes, Steph. I remember meeting you at Daddy's Girl, New Jersey, 2022. I made a surprise visit to Daddy's. Well, I've been to Daddy's Girl twice now.
Yes.
Once I was invited, and once I just showed up.
Yep. Yep. Okay, do you want me to read it?
Yeah.
Okay, it says, for me, Lisa's book has literally thrown open the doors to what I originally saw as the closed atmosphere of the church. And it has shown me that prayer to our Father in heaven can and really should be an ongoing conversation between a loving father and his beloved child, occurring anytime, anywhere, 24/7, 365 days a year. Knowing I have access to God outside of a formal church building and can pray informally and can be heard by him has been something of a revolutionary concept to accept. I also think the written prayers available within the book have helped me to develop ways to pray that are easiest and most comfortable for me.
Wow. That's great. That's absolutely great that people will get that realization. But, I guess when you think about it, some people do think, well, I've got to be in church to pray.
Mm-hmm. They
don't realize I can pray. I'm just laughing at the comments. I mess people up when I tell them that I do some of my best praying and get some of my best communion with God when I'm taking a shower.
Absolutely. Because there's no distraction.
It seems like when I'm driving and when I'm in the shower is when I get my best sermons. I got one just recently. I was driving, and if you don't pray in tongues when you drive and you live in New Jersey, you better start.
That's what I keep telling them.
You really need to pray in tongues when you drive. Especially in New Jersey.
And then there's angry tongues, just letting you know.
Oh, yeah, there are. There absolutely are. But, just not long ago, it was within the last couple of weeks, and I was driving, and praying in tongues. And I was thinking about upcoming ministry assignments, just thinking about them and praying in tongues. And all of a sudden, out of my spirit, in a real loud, authoritative voice, I heard, "This one thing."
Mm.
And I kind of jumped, and all of a sudden I realized, wait a minute, I know that verse. I know that verse, and it turns out to be from Philippians chapter 3,
Yes.
where Paul says, "This one thing I do, forgetting what is behind and reaching forward to what lies ahead." And I was like, okay, that's a message for somewhere. This one thing, that's the name of the message. And then boom, here come the correlations. Isaiah 42:9, Isaiah 43:18 and 19. Here's the correlating. So I actually just taught it the other morning on one of our Love and Unity Zoom calls. And I'm actually teaching this Saturday morning at Pastor Anthony's church. They're having a men's meeting, and they have 60 men registered.
That's awesome.
And I'm going to go teach this to the men's meeting on this one thing. And so, but that came while I was driving. And one of my other like home run messages I got in the shower one morning. I was just praying in tongues and in the shower, and all of a sudden, out of my spirit came, "Just do it." And of course, here comes the correlation to the Nike commercial. And all of a sudden I heard, "Download the instruction." Well, there's point number one. And then I heard, "Don't analyze the instruction." There's point number two. And then I heard, "Do the instruction." There's point. I got a whole sermon. I had to get out of the shower and grab a legal pad and start writing. But it came, and God talks to you in the car. God talks to you in the shower. God talks to you wherever you are in communion with him.
That's right.
And it can be anywhere. So the fact that somebody captured that and it spoke to somebody through what you wrote, and that realization, I love when the light bulb goes on over people's heads. It's fun when you're there in person and you're preaching or teaching and you see the light bulb go on and you feel like you're watching a cartoon. But with the book, you don't always get to see it. But when it comes back to you that the light bulb went on, that's a beautiful thing. That's when you say, "Thank you, Papa."
It is, like I said, it's been extremely humbling. It's been very, very humbling to be used as a tool in Papa's tool belt to help people to fine tune their hearing and their hearts back to him.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, believe it or not, our time is almost gone. We've almost gone through an hour already here. But for those of you that are watching, I know all of Lisa's friends have the book, and they've probably bought copies and given them away. And God bless you all for doing it. But for some of you from the Kingdom First audience, some of you from my audience that have not purchased this book, click on that or take your phone, put it up to the screen, scan that QR code, and support my daughter and support this book. I promise you, you'll get blessed by this book. I even wrote one of the, somebody just scanned the QR code. God bless somebody. But
oh yeah, and I have, that's the other thing. Ryan's like, "Oh, don't forget, you give books away." He yells at me all the time because I carry books in my car because Papa says give them. Like I've gotten into restaurants, and I've brought it to waitresses. And I brought it. We gave it to a homeless person. We gave it to another waitress. I've given it to people that I've met traveling on the road. Like all of a sudden, it's like the Lord says, "Give them your book." So I keep books in my car just to give away. just to
Wow.
give away. Oh yeah, I think I've given away more books. Brian's like, we got to just keep her stock so she can just keep giving them away. But I do, because when Papa says give it, you just give it. Because it doesn't matter about, like, it's great, and I appreciate people buying it, and I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm so sorry, but
No, that's okay.
it's because I'm kingdom. Like, truthfully, like, I really think about the kingdom, and the kingdom gives. That's what we do.
If I can do anything, let me read my endorsement for the book
Yes, please.
that I wrote for this book when it was going out and being published. A commercial for the U.S. Navy on TV back in the early 80s coined the phrase, "It's not just a job, it's an adventure." I have often thought about that phrase through the years when I think of Lisa Perna. My relationship with her dates back, and I put down here 2016. It's actually before that.
Yeah, it
It
was.
dates back to 2014.
Yes, it does.
And here's what I wrote after that. So we probably need to correct that in the second printing of the book. It dates back to 2014. She has always been wide-eyed and viewed her encounters and experiences with Abba as adventures. This book is just that. She takes you, the reader, on a series of adventures that she has lived through. And through her journeys, her goal is to bring you into the same intimate relationship with Papa that she has developed. I have always told her, and this is true, I have always told her this. She has a natural, supernatural way of disarming people and putting them at ease with her easygoing, storytelling way of communicating. What you hold in your hands is a fantastic example of exactly that. You will glean from the wisdom nuggets and principles in her stories, and yes, her adventures. Let me encourage you to take a journey and go on an adventure with Lisa through the pages of this book, touching the Father's heart through prayer.
Aww.
So that is a proud Papa's endorsement of his daughter and the work that she has done. Joe Henry, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor before we close tonight. Would you go ahead and pull down the QR code and pull up the commercial one more time and play the commercial for everybody?
Since the moment you were formed in your mother's womb, you were always connected to your Heavenly Father. You were created to be in constant communications with the Creator of the universe. And that communication comes through prayer. So many times, we believe that our prayers are being ignored. When you tap into the frequency of the Father's love, you will see your prayers have always been heard. Touching the Father's heart through prayer is not just a book. It will become a lifestyle. Order your copy today and watch how your prayer life changes.
Wow. It has a whole new meaning now, doesn't it? It really does, because it really has changed some people's prayer lives. Wow. Well,
yeah. Honey, you know I'm real proud of you.
Thank you.
And it was an honor to commission you, or help commission you, Prophet, and to walk with you through all the stages and all the development. Let me just say this for those that are watching. Even though I gave her that prophetic word probably back in, I guess it was maybe 2015.
Yeah.
In Asbury Park, and I said, you're on the fast track. You know, that fast track really wasn't all that fast.
No.
it still was probably a good 5 or 6 years of ups and downs and ins and outs and problems and trials and victories and overcoming and crying and throwing in the towel. And I remember the one night, oh man, so vividly. And she called me up and she said, "Do I have to do this?" And I said, "No, you don't have to. But you'll never reach and fulfill the destiny that God has for you if you don't." And without even blinking or batting an eye, she said, "Ah, shoot. Now I got to do it." I will remember that for the rest of my life. Ah, shoot. Now I got to do it.
Yeah.
But boy, doing it, wasn't it worth it?
It was. And he's so good. He's so good. And I'm so looking forward to more adventures with Papa.
That's so good. That's so good. Well, folks, I'm so thrilled that she was here tonight and we got to talk about the book. I'm glad that somebody ordered the book tonight. I hope even others will order the book, even those that watch this later, because this goes out on Roku TV. It goes out on LG TV, on Apple Plus TV. It is on iHeartRadio. It is going to be on Spotify podcast. There's even a Kingdom First TV app that you can get either on your Android or your Apple device. And you can watch Kingdom First TV 24/7 if you want to. And so this will be re-aired over and over and over again. And so for those of you that are on one of the podcasts and you can't see the QR code, just go to Amazon and search for either Lisa Perna,
yep,
or search for Touching the Father's Heart Through Prayer. And you'll be able to pull it up on Amazon. And you'll be, since you couldn't see the QR code or the picture and you couldn't scan it, that's how you can get it. Folks, just a programming note for me. Before I do my programming note, talk about Daddy's Girl. That's upcoming, and dates, and if people are interested, how they can find out about it.
Well, you can go to my website, which is touchedbyprayer.com. Daddy's Girl is going to be 7 years old. Woohoo! Can you believe that? 7 years. Can't believe it. So Daddy's Girls is basically, the Lord said to me that my daughters don't know how to be daughters, so you will teach them. I was like, okay. So I've been having these conferences, but it's kind of expanded from just the women, because now the husbands are coming. So this year at Daddy's Girls, September 22nd, 23rd, and 24th in Harvey Cedars, New Jersey, we are going to have a husband and wife who are going to be speaking at the conference. And we're also going to have a husband and wife who are going to be doing the worship. So God is definitely doing something. So it's called Following His Spirit. That's this year's theme. And it's myself. I have Apostle Kelly McCann. Yes, men are welcome if they're accompanied by a daughter of the King. Thank you, Ryan. Isn't that cute? So it's going to be fantastic. I have Michael and Gordana Van Vlyman who are going to be speaking. They have had encounters. They are the real deal. Like that's the other thing too. The people who have come have just been such a blessing to so many, and people have grown. Like that's the thing between my broadcast and Crown Chats, which you're going to be coming on soon, and Touched by Prayer you're going to be on next week. But that's the whole thing. It's the book is one thing, but there's so much more. There's so much more, because every day is a day to get to see a different facet of God, because He's like a diamond. And so we just turn them for you to see.
Awesome. All right. So my programming note. Next week, next Tuesday night, I will be on Touched by Prayer with Lisa. So
Yeah.
we're doing a home and home series.
Yes.
So she was with me. I will be with her next Tuesday night. So all of you that watch Touched by Prayer, we'll be talking about my new book
Yes.
next week. And Joe Henry, if you want to put it up now, you can put up my new book. We'll be talking about this new book next week on Lisa's Touched by Prayer program on Tuesday night. Also, next Thursday night on this broadcast, I will have a friend of mine that I haven't really been with in quite a few years, probably maybe since like we were in COVID. But Apostle D. Aaron Sharon is going to be with me, and we're going to be talking about where we are and what we envision for the church. That's going to be next week. 2 weeks from tonight, Prophet Margie Florent will be with me again. And then 3 weeks from tonight, I have rescheduled Dr. Mike Brown. Dr. Mike Brown is my mentor. He's a master mentor. He throws out wisdom nuggets like nobody that I know. And he's going to be teaching about honor. And boy, does the body of Christ need to know about honor. So I would really mark your calendar for 3 weeks. It is going to be August the 17th when Dr. Mike Brown is with me talking about honor. I promise you do not want to miss it. In the immortal words of my dear brother, Dr. Don Hughes, God loves you and we love you. And there ain't nothing you could do about it. Good night, everybody. God bless you. We'll see you soon.
Thank you for watching Kingdom First TV. Your